Shiv, this is supposed to be the game changer, really, for not just for HAL's capabilities, but also for India's strategic purposes. It is supposed to, the Tejas is supposed to, is designed to facilitate the transition of the emerging pilots, pilots in training for the fighter capabilities. What is this particular aircraft that the PM has flown in today, since, and we also saw reports just last month that the first LCA Tejas twin-seater was inducted into the Air Force. What does this mean really for the Indian Air Force's capabilities, and what are we looking forward to further? As you said, more aircraft supposed to be coming in. This is going to be a boost for indigenous capabilities as far as production of aircraft is concerned.
Anisha, you're absolutely right. It is a game changer in two principal ways, and I'll tell you both. One, the Tejas is a small to medium fighter. It's not a heavy fighter, like the Rafales, like the Sukhoi Sorties that we operate also in large numbers. The Tejas has been built to be small, cheap to build, easy to maintain, easy to deploy wherever it needs to be, and therefore it is a highly it's a perfect replacement for the old MiG-21, MiG-27s and MiG-23s, which are either out of service or, outbound from service. The MiG-21, which suffer a terrible reputation in the Indian Air Force, not entirely for the right reasons. There are 3 squadrons of those left, Anisha, and they're on their last legs. So when the Tejas program began some decades ago, the principal focus was to be able to replace some of these legacy Soviet-era fighters that the Indian Air Force continues to use and is actually forced to use. One of the reasons why the Indian Air Force, had no choice but to extend the life of its MiG-21s and other, legacy aircraft was because of the troubles and delays in the Tejas program. So now that the Tejas has matured completely, it's in service, HAL is able to build them very rapidly. It's become a game changer because, apart from having cutting-edge fighters like your Rafales and your Su-30s and others, you also need strength in numbers. In any combat scenario, you need to be able to have fighters that you can put into the air in large numbers, that are cheap to maintain, that are easy to turn around, that are easy to re-engine, that are easy to arm, stuff like that. And for that requirement, the Tejas is actually absolutely perfect. It has a much smaller footprint than many of the other fighters. It's homegrown. It's difficult to overstate the advantages of having a homegrown fighter. When you have imported fighters, every time there is an issue, many times you've got to run abroad for spares. You've got to go to the original equipment manufacturers in foreign countries, for blueprints, for help in upgrading things. But here you've got an aircraft where the computers, the systems, the cockpit, almost every aspect of the aircraft, apart from the engine and the radar, are all completely Indian and manufactured here in India, which means it gives you a huge advantage in case anything goes wrong. You don't need to depend on somebody else. You don't need to sort of, burnish somebody else's economy. It's all Indian money, it's Indian know-how. So that is also that second big game changer. But like I said, it's not just a naam ke vaste homegrown fighter. This is a fighter that is very, very capable. It's comparable with some of the best in the world. It's been admired by aviation experts across the world. It's frequently compared with some of the, leading fighters in the world, like the Gripen and the F-16. And therefore, I think the age of the Tejas, which began a few years ago, I think it's coming to fruition now. It's going to be seen in much larger numbers. And I've interacted with squadron pilots who fly the Tejas, and I can tell you, Anisha, they love the aircraft. They don't for a moment, act like this aircraft has been forced on them. They truly love flying this aircraft, and they can't wait to see what else it can do, how it can be upgraded, and become an even more capable platform.
So, Shiv, just one more question I have for you, for our viewers really. This aircraft, when we're talking about the induction of the Tejas and the Indian Air Force using this mode, not just for the Indian Air Force, this is also going to be a big game changer for the defense industry and avionics in India, isn't it? Because it was recently shown at the Dubai Air Show. It is something that, as you said, the HAL has collaborated with GE to get these engines. We're building this aircraft on our own. We're building this completely indigenously in India. So now, as you said, instead of focusing on purchasing everything from abroad, this also gives India a boost in which that we could also potentially then develop it further, offer it to other countries, this could also become something that India can proudly show off to other countries, not just for the sake of defense capabilities, but also as a defense economy issue.
Very, very true. You raise a very good point, and it's something that HAL and the Indian Ministry of Defense actually focus on quite a bit. The fact that the LCA Tejas, the Tejas fighter, is now mature enough to to actually offer to other countries, which in fact it has. It was recently part of a contest in Malaysia. It's been offered to countries like Argentina and other Latin American countries. It's been offered to some Central Asian and African countries as training platform and frontline combat platforms as well. So you're absolutely right. So it's a huge boost for indigenous industry. And remember, building a fighter, it's not just HAL. There are thousands of small and big private sector companies, Anisha, that benefit from large orders of a homegrown fighter, because they're the ones who supply the wings, the skins, the wheels, the tires, the avionics, the software code. Let's not forget the software that goes into the flying of a fighter, because these are highly automated platforms. Unlike fighters of the vintage years, these are fighter aircraft that have extremely advanced computer systems and flight control computers, all of them coded by Indian software professionals, sitting in Hyderabad, Bengaluru, and other places. So the boost that such a thing gives to indigenous industry and the confidence to move forward and build the next big thing. For instance, some of our viewers may know that India is already developing a fifth-generation fighter called the AMCA, the Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft. It's also building stealth drones. So the boost that indigenous industry gets from larger orders, from a show of strength by the Indian government leadership,